Hello, everyone. Good evening. I see it's almost 8. Maybe we wait one more minute to see if some people are still joining us. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Judith de Waard, and I'm from Reef Era. And tonight we're hosting Dr. Abdulrahman Nassar to speak about coral reefs. Dr. Nassar is a marine ecologist, and he specializes in coral reefs and has also published many scientific studies about it, mostly about the different impacts that are currently facing our coral reefs and also their resilience. And before we give him the stage, I would just shortly like to introduce Reef Era, who is hosting this event. It is a new initiative in the Red Sea area for coral reef protection and restoration, with the goal to preserve this vital ecosystem and to ensure that this will become a thriving ocean for future generations as well. And corals are essential to that, which we will learn about more later. And Reef Era does this through education and community engagement and also sustainable practices. But Dr. Nassar will explain our methods in more detail also after the talk. During his talk, feel free to write down any question you may have for him in the chat. At the end, we will shortly discuss these in a Q&A. And he will also talk more about the ways that you can get involved with Reef Era. So without any further ado, let's welcome Dr. Abdulrahman Nassar. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Judith, for this introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Just want to make sure my voice is clear, and if you can confirm this in the chat, or Judith, if you can confirm this.
Yes, all good.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is Abdulrahman Nassar. I'm a marine ecologist. I'm specialized in coral reef. I have studied the impacts, different impacts on coral reef. I studied like climate change impacts on coral reef for some years, and I have some published paper about this. So it's my pleasure to be the presenter today to talk about coral reefs. And I think like most of us, even all of us, I think like we had a chance to dive or snorkeling with to see these beautiful communities of coral reefs. and the reef fishes around and all of this beauty. So today we will talk in details about what is coral reef, what is the life cycle of coral reef, and what is the importance of coral reef, and what the threats that we facing or coral reef facing now, and how we can help with this. So let's go start with the coral reef life cycle. So basically, coral reef can reproduce by two ways, uh, sexual and asexual. Sexual reproduction of coral reefs is the most important, more important, because this the way of sexual reproduction, it's giving us a new generation, a new individuals, a new corals, a way better than asexual way, because asexual way is just happening by maybe fragmenting or bonding or generate a new individuals from the old one. But sexual reproductions is starting by the event of coral swimming, which is happening like 2 times per year, and most of time in most of places. And it should be in full moon, and water temperature should be perfect, and the day length should be a long day length. So it's not so common to find this perfect condition. That's why this kind of reproduction of coral reef, it's very important. If we are lucky to record this or see this, so basically, like coral, in this event, the coral spawning, we have eggs and the sperm outside of coral, and they meeting outside to form gametes and then convert to be larvae. And then we have this larva dispersable, and the larva trying, swimming hardly to find a settlement, a perfect substrate for them. So this is like it's very important step in a coral reef life cycle to find the perfect substrate because most of larvae they cannot find the perfect substrate due to a lot of impacts from human. For example, if we have like a mass diving and in an area and we have these events and we have larva looking for a substrate, all of this disturbance happening by divers, not allowing or not a perfect condition for to settle this larva on it. So that's why, like most of larvae at this stage, they cannot find the perfect substrate for this. But if they found it, they settle on it, and then they're starting to form a polyp, which is the animal of coral, and the polyp start to host those xanthellae, the algae that's giving the coral the the color that we see, and we found it so beautiful, different colors. And then after this, it's the sexual cycle converted to be asexual reproduction, asexual cycle. So this is another cycle happening like budding and growing by, or we can take a fragment of this colony and we start to reproduce this asexual in another place if it's a perfect place for them to grow. So asexual, it's a growing and the spreading of the same coral colony. And we said, like sexual, we have a new individual, a new colony in maybe in a different places, not in the same coral colony. That's the difference between sexual and asexual in coral reef life cycle. And then like the reef start to maintain and develop and by helping from herbivorous and the coral fishes, cleaning and maintain all of this reef to form the big beautiful reef like in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia or here in the Red Sea. So we saw all of this. It's happening by a very long time to form all of these barrier reefs and then like starting to build another community with different species, with different colonies. And here we have this video just to give us like, I hope that sound is working. Okay, I think like the sound is not working. Can you please confirm now sound is
Corals are a
working or not?
beautiful and important part of our ocean, but they can't move around
Yes,
the ocean
working.
floor. So how exactly do they find mates? Reef-building corals, also known as stony or hard corals, reproduce in several ways, one of the most common of which is broadcast spawning. This bizarre and beautiful phenomenon starts when male and female corals release reproductive cells called gametes into the water. Coral reefs may be separated by wide distances, so this tactic enables gametes to mix genetics and spread their offspring over a broad geographic area. Male and female gametes combine together and form a baby coral called a planula. Planulae float in the water for days or weeks until they find a hard surface to which they can attach. Along many reefs, coral spawning occurs as a synchronized event when many coral species release their gametes around the same time. With all the corals on a reef releasing gametes at the same time, there's a better chance of escaping hungry predators and a greater possibility that many different genetic combinations may form. More genetic diversity means there's a better chance that at least some of the new corals have gene combinations that will help them survive extreme temperatures or diseases. And with rising ocean temperatures and increasing acidification, it's important for corals to be as resilient as possible.
Okay, I think like this is a good brief for what we said about life cycle of coral reef. And we can discuss this if you have any question. But now we have a very important question. This question is why coral reef is matter for us? Why coral reef matter? What is important of coral reef? Why we should take care of this coral reef and why we should protect it, or what is the different way. So let's go deep on this, the importance of coral reef. First, it's a hot spot of biodiversity because coral reef is a home for 25% of all marine species, and it's also shelter and food and nursery for fishes, turtle, and more, and reinforcement of the sea also. And second, it's a coastal protection It protects our coast from by absorbing up to 97% of wave energy. And this is very, very important for countries that they have a shoreline with strong waves because it's eating the shore line. So coral reef protect the coastal line, and also it's provide us by food security, which is very, very important now during the problem with the food security in different countries. So it's a kind of food security we can provide it by coral reef because the community around coral reef, the community of fishes around coral reef, it's very dynamic and giving us a lot of food security. And also economical way, it's helping a lot in tourism, in fishing industry, also for island and the coastal economies. It's very important. And also we can extract medicine and some medicine, antibiotics, and cancer treatment. A lot of research is working on this to extract some medicine from coral, different types of coral reef and other marine life. Also, it's a kind of cultural heritage value because like coral reef is surrounding by community. It's creating community around. So this community, they have a heritage and cultural values. And also, it's helping in carbon and the neutron cycle. So it's helping to store carbon and reduce CO2, which is we need now during the events of climate change and all of this that we hear about. Those like briefly some of the importance of coral reef and why it's matter for our life or for environment. But this coral reef now is going through a lot of threats, and we all know this. We all see this. We see how coral reef changes from year to year. It's not became the same beautiful and the active coral reef as it's before. So what are threats that to coral reef? First, and the most important one is the climate change. Climate change, it was like before it was like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was a theory, but by time it was like it became something we see, something significant, something happening. I remember that I was working in Wadi Gimal National Park, which is the south of Red Sea, Egypt side, and how the beautiful reef there shifted like 2 or 3 years ago during increasing sea surface temperature, and it became totally white. And most of coral reef there, they didn't survive through this event. So I recorded this, I observed this by myself and all scientists around the world. They recorded all of these events because it was a wild, it was global event for climate changes. So climate change, it became now true. Before it was like they were just telling scientists, no, you're talking about theory, if there is no such thing. But now we see it in climate changes, very clear on coral reef, and we recorded it and we published a lot of paper about this now. So if you searching about climate changes or bleaching events in last 2 or 3 years, you will find a lot of paper recorded this around the world, not only in the Red Sea. So this is really, really big threat on coral reef. And second thing, which is facing from long time, overfishing. Overfishing, it's happening everywhere in the world, not only in the Red Sea. And this not giving like we studying something as coral reef resilience, and fish is part of this. The positive resilience coral reef should have sufficient herbivorous fishes, which is helping a lot coral reef to survive if it got any impact, or if there are any impact on coral reef. So if we overfishing this kind of fish, it will be a very low chance for coral reef to survive if it went through any event like bleaching event. Coastal development, it's really unorganized. It's really impacts so much on the beautiful coral reef we have, and we have a lot of examples around the world, and not only in the Red Sea. That's like development ate a lot of shoreline, and like they already broke some of coral reef and all of this shoreline, and we lost a lot of habitats from dredging and the coastal erosion. Lately, all countries starting to enforce environmental law, and they're starting to make new regulations to protect the coral reef, but it's still not enough, and we need to cooperate together for this, to enforce it more, to protect the coral reef in this area. Pollution also in some areas, in all areas, and we see from time to time oil spills everywhere, and the chemical pollutant also there. So this is the kind of threats, and sedimentation also impact on erosion from this poor land, which is like a shoreline, and impact all on coral reef. And also tourism, mass tourism impact has some impact on coral reef also. And disease outbreak, there is like coral disease are spreading wild. It was like before, it was like very low events, but now we see it, and we monitor it, and we observe it, and we record it in a bigger scale than before. So it's a kind of threat for coral reef. And also invasive species in some places. We found some species like coral through or starfish on coral reef. It's impact on coral reef so much because it's eating coral reef. So this is threats, or part of the threats that I succeeded to collect or writing to present for you. Now, how we can help. This is the big question of tonight of this presentation. Can we help? Whatever you are doing, whatever your skills, can you help to protect this coral reef? And this question, we trying to find an answer for it by this initiative, which is Reefs, which is we have a mission to protect and restore the coral reef through education and community engagement and sustainable practice. And we doing this because this is a vital ecosystem, and we should preserve it for next generation. So we should take our responsibilities toward the coral reef. And here, Reefs starting to working in different areas, conservation, education, and research, and the community engage. That's what we are thinking about, starting in those four sectors to help coral reef to protect. And we have this initiative we have this initiative, coral restoration project. We start to plan for this one. We have awareness campaigns in different way. We work on it too. We're looking for partnership, and we will measure our impact after this. So this is about Reefera, and we need the help from everyone. Please, whatever you can do, you, of course, you have something to help. So we created this form. It's a Google form, so please, if you can scan it. And also, I think you that you can share the link of the form if you cannot scan it on this form. You can fill it, and you can just like tell us what sector you can help, and all how we can get engaged together in this. And we collect all of this volunteer form and we will contact the people, and we can set up a meeting as cooperate together to invest our ideas and make a project to protect the coral reef in Red Sea. And I hope, or we hope, to spread this idea and getting it bigger to see the impact of protection and the restoration of coral reef, because everyone should have a responsibility towards it. Thank you so much. And here, Reefera contacts on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and also this is WhatsApp. I hope, please, everyone fill out this form, a volunteer form too, because we looking for a very good community or build a team to invest more in this initiative. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm open for any question if anyone wanted to have any question to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nassar. Is there anyone with a question regarding the coral reef life cycle? Yes, I see the first one. Osama, go ahead. You're still muted currently. Yeah, I see one hand up from Osama. Can you unmute yourself? Or you can also ask your question in the chat.
Yeah. Are there any coral reef restoration efforts in the Red Sea recently?
I'm not sure if that was working. If you want to share your question in the chat, then we can address it.
I got it. Thank you, Yudit. Thank you, Osama, for this important question. Actually, there is no such like a big project or like a main project by organization or by country or whatever, but there is like some small individual experiments or individuals holding. For example, here in Dahab, if you had a chance to dive in Dahab or to read about this, there is like some restoration project, or it was like kind of creating a new spot for diver to minimize the impact on the coral reef itself, on a coral reef itself. So there was like a group, it's called I Dive by Dr. Abdulrahman and the other group. They try to make a shape like elephant, like Horus, like some ancient Egyptian gods. to allow coral reef to grow in it, and it's very successful, and it's really working, and I'm always dying on this and see how it impacts. So it was like individual efforts, but it worked a lot. This is an example in the hub, and there is like another example. I don't have the result of this example in Argada. It's happening by the government itself. I think they try to sink some tankers, some stuff to allow coral reef to grow in it, or to create another diving site to minimize the impact on the coral reef itself. But this is scientifically, it's not recommended to sink some old stuff and this stuff, or it's still under research. So this is, I think, like the two examples that exist in Red Sea Egypt, as far as I know, and that's why we trying in Reefs to create such a project, because after last bleaching events in last 2 or 3 years in south of Red Sea in Marsa Alam, starting from Qusair to Shalatin and south of Red Sea. So a lot of coral died, bleached and died, and then just recover. So I think by time we will need such a project there to restore or to find a hope or to create a hope for a coral reef again and it's possible, by the way. It's really possible. Scientifically, it's possible and it's happening everywhere. And I want to tell you one more thing about this, which is really good thing, that the condition and the environment of the Red Sea in Egyptian side, it's perfect for restoration, because when I see how these examples in Dahab succeeded, and I took a part in other projects in the other side in Jordan or in Saudi Arabia, and we had such restoration project, but didn't succeed as much as in this one in Dahab. So I think we have a better condition to create a new community of coral reefs if we have like a big scale of restoration or rehabilitation or whatever the project that we do to help the coral reefs grow again. I hope I answered your question, and thank you again for this really good question. If there is another question, please
Okay,
go
okay,
ahead.
Dr. Abdulrahman. I work as a researcher in the Wadi al-Jamal National Park. Yeah, and we hope for many successful efforts like this.
Sorry again, Osama.
Yeah, I work as a researcher in the Wadi al-Jamal protected area, and we hope for many successful efforts like this. Yeah.
Are you looking forward for some projects, right? You mean that? I think we have less than 1 minute. Please keep in the same link so we enter again. Sorry for this. So let's join again because it's very important and I want to discuss this with Osama. Thank you, Osama, for this question. Let's discuss more of this. If the link is disconnected, please join again. As I told you, I did my master in Wadi Gamal, and I knew the coral reef there very well, and I did this with